All right, we are back for part 4, part 2. Sorry, I had a little bit of an emergency at home. I had to run away for a second. So I actually went on YouTube, deleted part 4, and this is part 4. So we are going to try and wrap up this spring shell stuff. I just have a couple more things I want to do, and then I'll let you guys go. Well, actually, you don't have to be here anyway. But I have to be here. Um, okay. So we are working on a little Dad Joke CLI app using Spring Shell. We've just completed making this a native executable. So things are good. I have one little problem here. In the target directory, and I'm sorry for just jumping into this, but I'm sure whoever's here was probably here before anyway. So let's actually go down here. So the thing that gets created, the executable, the name of it is DJ CLI. So that's what I will ultimately have to type on the command line. Or I can create an alias to it, which is fine too. But if you want to control the output of the image name, there's a way to do that. Now, in our current application, we only have this Spring Boot Maven plugin. We don't have the native plugin. So when you go to start.spring.io and you choose the Graalvm native support, let's look at let's choose Maven. Let's look at the Explorer. What you basically get is this native plugin. So this is there. It's part of the project now, but it's part of the Spring Boot Starter parent. And so if we look down here, we'd probably see the native Maven plugin. And this is fine. This works until you need to control or configure something else. In our case, we want to change the image name that gets outputted, right? So I figured I'd show off this little tip today. So once you have the native Maven plugin in here, you can set some configuration. So we can say configuration, and then you can set the image name. You can see there's a bunch of different properties that you could set on this. I haven't used most of these, but the image name I have. So image name. And now what I can just say is Dad Joke, right? So now with that, I can go into the terminal. I can stop that. And we can go ahead and run another native image compilation. So this will create a new executable, only this time, hopefully, we get a native executable of Dad Joke, right? So then, if that works, we'll test it out. And then I will go into my terminal, which is iTerm right now. And we'll go ahead and set like an alias for that native executable that got created, right? Once that's created, then we can go ahead and right from the command line, no matter what we're doing, wherever we are, we can just type Dad Joke. We'll be brought into that shell, and we can do a random. Now, if all you were doing was this single command, it probably makes sense more to just be in like a Java program where you're just executing this one thing. But again, the idea was like we could build on this and like do other things with this particular application. I gave some ideas in the last one. So one idea I had was, okay, when you go make a call to random, we get back this Dad Joke response. We can take that response, stick it in a cache somewhere, so that if somebody types the favorite command, we know, okay, they want to favorite the last joke we just saw. So we can go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and take that joke and persist it, whether it's to like a file, to some type of database, wherever we're going to like save that off. Now we can do that. And, you know, then we could do a bunch of things. One, we could list all of our favorite dad jokes. Two, we could have like an offline mode. So if we're on an airplane, we can detect if we have connection or not. If we don't, then we know we can't go out to fetch this API. But we could always use our favorites as the like data source, right? Give me a random joke from my favorites, or give me a favorite from my favorites. So those are some other things that we could do with this. I'm not gonna go down that road just because I have some other things I want to do on subsequent streams. But I am using what I've done here in the last 3 or 4 streams. I'm gonna put together a video tomorrow on an introduction to Spring Shell based on some things that we did here. So, okay, so now if I look in my target directory, I have a dad joke executable, right? So now I can say target dad joke. And then boom, give me a random one. When my wife told me to stop impersonating a flamingo, I had to put my foot down. Laughter is good for the soul sometimes, my friends. Okay, so I like that. So where is this? There's a way to, let me get the absolute path. Yes, so I copied the absolute path to the root. So what I'm going to do now is iterm. No, actually, I want to, what do I want to do? I want, where am I? I need to, okay, here's my config. Here's like one that I did before. So I'm just going to drop in an alias here for a dad joke. So yeah, I guess we didn't really need to like change the image name, but I thought it'd be fun. So we are in users Vega dev Spring Boot DJ CLI target dad joke, right? So now if I save this and I get out of here and I come back to here, now I should be able to go dad joke and boom, I'm brought right into that shell. So that is, again, for me, just the types of applications that we're trying to build. GraalVM is really helping us as Java developers kind of speed things up for certain workloads, right? For certain workloads, the JVM is really, really great, or for most workloads, actually. For this one, I love that, like, I've turned off that logging, I've turned off that banner, boom, I'm right into my shell. So in this case, all I have is one, which is random. But what do you call a boy who stopped digging holes? Douglas. I like it. We could do it again. Why is it always hot in the corner of a room? Because a corner is 90 degrees. I like it. So again, then I can Control C to get out of here. Now, anytime I'm on a shell, I can just go ahead and use this. So if I'm in here, again, same thing. Actually, this one's not going to work because we need to close this and then open a new one. And there we are. Random. So why did the girl smear peanut butter on the road? To go with the traffic jam. Awesome. Okay, so I think that's what I wanted to show off there. Cool. So let's just recap for anyone who's kind of new what we did here. So the first thing we're going to do is you create a new application using start.spring.io. Let's go back there actually. And what you'll want to do is you want to pick up Spring Shell, the GraalVM native image support, or you can just paste in that code I showed you. And also, I ended up pulling in the reactive web, so I get Spring Boot Starter Webflux, because we end up using the web client, and I'll show you where. So in Spring Shell, we have these things called commands. This is how when, and let's come back to the terminal here. So if I go Dad Joke, and if I type help, you can see all the available commands. So the built-in commands are what come with Spring Shell. The other commands are your commands. So you could group these commands into different sections. In this case, I only have one set of commands. They're called Dad Joke commands. So under a commands package, I have Dad Joke commands, and then I use the @shell component annotation. This indicates that an annotated class may contain shell methods. So think of this like an configuration for a class that may contain bean definitions, right? This is the top level component or the annotation that is going to now tell us, hey, this is a class that we should look for shell methods. And this is, in fact, using the @component annotation, so it gets picked up by Spring. So that's great. Once you have that, any shell method that you have here is going to be listed here. So we have one called random, and that is denoted by the key. So key equals random, and then the value is the description. So it's important to add those values because it helps the user when they type out that help. They understand what this is, what this particular method is doing. So this one has no arguments, but you can provide shell options. So if you wanted, I don't know if this is the one or the other one that we looked at, has like particular types. Like you could pass in like a type or something. It's neither here nor there. But you can use shell options if you want to provide arguments to each of those commands. So if I were to type in like random PBJ, like peanut butter and jelly jokes, right? So that's what that's for. In this case, we are calling out to another API to get that dad joke. The way that we're doing that is you could have used a REST client. You could have used a web client. We, in fact, are on Spring Boot 3, so decided to go with an HTTP declarative interface. And what that is just an interface. So we have an interface with some type of exchange. So in this case, we're making a GET request somewhere. So whenever we set up a client, there's a base URL, and then the subsequent like rest of the URI is here in the definition. So GET exchange is /. What we have here is a method called random, and that will return a dad joke response. So we set this up as a class that has an ID joke and a status. We had this as a record, but it wasn't working. And I can't remember why. So maybe I'll take a look at that as well and fix that up. But so we have this dad joke response. So what happens in here is we use the dad joke client to call random and get back this dad joke response. And then instead of returning that is a type with 3 different properties in it, all I'm doing is returning the actual joke. I use this though because I thought maybe we might use this later for something else. So we still could, but that's why I'm returning that. To make that client work, you need to do a couple of things. You need to set up so the client, the HTTP interfaces underneath the hood use the web client. That's why I brought in Webflux. And then you need to set up a service proxy factory and then create the client. So we noticed that by default, it was returning HTML. So we wanted to make sure that we said, hey, we expect to get back some JSON here, don't send us HTML, send us JSON, right? So cool. That is what we did. And that works. And then at the end of the day, we ran the native executable. So using, in this case, Maven. Maven has a native profile. So if you come in your native profile, and then we just ran native compile. And then finally, I came in here and added the Maven, the native Maven plugin, because I just wanted to configure the image name. So I wanted the image name to be Dad Joke. So cool. I think that is enough for there. So that's what I wanted to go through. Again, pretty simple example, but I think we could take what we have here and just build on it. Like now you have some of the things that you need to really start to build some CLI applications. And I, in fact, have built a YouTube CLI application. I don't even know if it's still, do I still have that? We'll come back to that another day. I'm going to show that off another day. But the YouTube CLI app basically reaches out to the YouTube API, gives me my like last 10 videos or whatever, and spits them out. And I do that so that I can get some stats on my latest videos. Hello, fellas. Hello, Samit. Thanks for joining us. Just trying to think of anything else I want to cover. Let me know if you have any questions about Spring Shell. Just trying to think if there's anything else I should cover in the video that will ultimately go out hopefully tomorrow. So we really want to cover what is Spring Shell, how to get started, create a project. We've done that. What are some of the basics? So we talked about shell component, shell method, value key. There's a different way to register commands. We didn't talk about that today. And I haven't been able to do this myself. I think I like just kind of the declarative way a little bit more. Organizing commands. So you can have a shell command group. So you can group commands. Exception handling we didn't really get into. I got a couple questions here. I've been stuck for 2 days with Spring Boot. All right, Michael, what have you been stuck with? Maybe I can help. Can you use Spring Shell for one-off commands, i.e. not having to enter this shell? Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. So like that would probably be helpful in the case of this one, right? Like rewrite dad joke, and we have to go into the shell and type random. I don't know. I'm going to have to figure that out. I guess the shell is more, I don't know the answers, but I'm just guessing here. I'm guessing more of the shell is for an application where you're going in and you want like all of these commands. But that's a great question. I would really, again, in the situation of the one that we just built, that would be helpful, I think. So I will find out. I don't know, but I know I have Slack and I have the team who works on it, so I'll ask them. Michael says, when I get at REST controller outside the main class, Spring is not creating a component. Okay, yeah. So we'll take a look at that in a second. Hey, Chris. So unhandled exceptions will bubble up into shells. Yeah, so this is going to be like 102. I'm going to have to do some digging into this. But exception handling and resolving is very important. So exit code mappings, exception resolver, hidden command. It is possible to hide a command in which is convenient in cases where it's not ready for prime time. It's meant for debugging. Oh, that's nice. So it may, I wonder if it still works. It may just be that you can't see it when you like type out help. This is pretty cool too. Interaction mode. So command registering can define interaction mode, which is used to hide commands depending on which mode shell is executing. Or with shell method. So these are options. These are all for shell options. There's a lot to understand here. Not going to go into that right now. That's pretty cool. You can help like assist. That's nice. Building. Yep, native support. When you use flow components to build some, what is this? Oh, that's nice. So you get dropped into a shell. Flow showcase. Oh, well, that's pretty nice. Cool. I like that. Yeah, we really have just hit the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot to learn here. Theming. You can customize the shell. That's pretty cool. So the way that you theme this, so the default theme is named default, but it can be used changing property shell.theme.name. Well, that's pretty cool. So you can change the theme. You can create your own themes. I don't know how much. Logging. Right. So you can change like the logging levels. Okay, so execution. This is where I want it to be. Version 2.1 enters a built-in support to distinguish between interactive and non-interactive modes. This makes it easier to use the shell as a simple command line tool without requiring customization. Currently, interactive mode is entered if any command line options are passed when starting or running a shell from the command line. This works when the application is compiled in the native support. Some commands may not have any useful meanings. Huh. I wonder if we can change that. No, I don't think that's really going to fix our problem, though. All right, I'll have to ask someone. I'm not sure, but yeah, I would like that too. Whoever asked me that question, sorry. Oh, there's a lot going on here. um, Sorry, there's a lot of questions going on now, so I'm not sure who asked that before. Solitary. For the one-off commands, I will find out and get you an answer. So now everybody's asking for GitHub. If you also remembered to. Okay. So we're done there. We're going to help our friend here with an issue. So that's going to wrap up Spring Shell. We're kind of done with that for now. I'll see if I can find an answer to the one-off because I would like to do that as well. Yeah, and then I'll put out that introduction video tomorrow. And as soon as I get a time to go through and kind of learn a little bit more, maybe we'll do like a 102. So there is someone asking that. All right, so Michael's saying when I get a REST controller outside the main class, Spring Boot is not creating the component. So Michael, this is for you. We're going to go through this really quickly. Start that spring.io. I'm going to pick a Maven project using Java. I'm going to use 3.0.3. We're going to, and I don't know if this is anything to do with this, Michael. If you're on the latest version 3.0.3, there is a weird bug out there in I think it actually is both. I keep saying it's Windows, but I think it's Windows and Mac. If there is a space in the name of your project, so like Dan's project, and there's a space in between, that is throwing off some configuration and picking up the components. So maybe that's causing that issue. But let's just create a dev.danvega. We'll create a demo. We're going to pick Spring Web. So that's all that you were doing, I hope. So we're picking Spring Web. Okay, we're going to open this up in IntelliJ. Michael says there's no space there. Okay, so here's what I suspect is going on, Michael. There are a couple things here. If you're going to create a new REST controller, do not create it in source main Java because that is the default package. It will not pick it up there. Do not create another package outside of the main package. This is where my main application class lives. This is where my classes should live. So I'm going to go home controller. You have to mark it with @REST-controller or component because that is what controller at the end of the day is annotated with @component. So @component will tell Spring to go ahead and pick this up. The reason that it works is because we do a component scan on this particular package that we're in. So again, if this is outside of here, then it's not going to work. Inside of here, it should work, right? Okay, and then we need a git mapping. So even if this is here, if this is not here, we have no way to get to it. And then actually in this case, I'll do that. So make sure you have a similar setup to this. This is what I'm doing, but IntelliJ still leaves it grayed out. You're saying this is grayed out? That could be because what is grayed out? I'm not sure what you're saying. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. And what happens when you run it? Does it start? If it starts, great. if you go there, you should be able to see that. So your home controller is colored. Mine stays gray. Are you sure it's not just like a theme thing? Um, so if you don't have a Git mapping on, see how this is gray? This is saying like it's never been reached. I haven't used this yet. But with my Git mapping on here, now it knows, hey, when we start up, there's a way to get to this method. Without it, there's no way to get there. Right? You see that? So if it starts, because even when I print all the beans of the context, the component is not created. So, right. So once it starts, so here in IntelliJ, I can go to Spring. I can go to Demo application. And in here, I should be able to find a home controller. There it is. So if this home controller is not getting created, none of this matters, right? So I would almost think that this is not on there then. So see, if there's no REST controller, this is grayed out because we're never using this. Maybe you have a typo in here. But yeah, if this is there and this is there, that should work. If it's not, do me a favor. Find me on Twitter at the real Dan Vega, and shoot me a link to the GitHub repository. If you have a GitHub repository, I can pull it down and test it out. But I suspect something else is going on. But even with Maven at the command line, it's not working. Yeah, so something else is going on. If it's starting up and the bean's not getting picked up, we are not seeing, Spring's not seeing it. So this annotation is incorrect. It's in the wrong place. Again, if I were to put this, say, in another package, so starts up fine. If we go back, nothing. Right? Because we are not finding it. It is not in the main package. Now, there are things you could do to make it find it. We can change the component scan to scan another place, but that's not the case. So make sure it's in the same package as your main class. When you build it with Maven, how many classes does it say it's compiling? Is it actually a .java file? Great question. Michael says, thank you very much for your time. You are welcome, Michael. Yeah, let me know. Reach out to me on Twitter. See if you can shoot me a link to a GitHub repository, and I'll take a look at it. All right. So got both your stream and Deshaun's stream open. Hi, Deshaun. Okay, so with that, Spring Shell introduction we'll do. I'll work on tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have that up. So we'll do like the condensed version. Nobody wants to watch the last 4 streams of us just like messing around, right? So it'll be a 10, 15 minute video, and we'll do the same thing. We'll build out this little dad joke. I do want to find out if I can alleviate having to drop into the shell. If there's like one command, can we just have that one command written? Oh, what happened? Huh. All right. I don't know what's going on. Hey, Deshaun. Are you streaming and chatting in here? That's pretty awesome. So we'll do the Spring Shell introduction. And then after that, I'm going to be... I'm going to work on the YouTube CLI stuff. So I'm giving a presentation to my team internally next week on that. So I'm going to do a little work on that and then make sure I have that presentable to them, but also to you, because I'll do another video on that. Because I think that's like the Spring Shell introduction is like 101 stuff. The YouTube CLI is like 102 stuff. Like we just took it a little bit step further and had a little bit more code. So I think those will be my 2 videos on Spring Shell in the next couple days. Oh, I had some Spring Shell questions over on code. I don't know why you ended your stream, though. I would have come over there because I have to end this one soon. Do you have it? So I've been telling everybody here, especially like Simon, you know, he's probably ahead of me on Spring Shell. I'm just, you know more than I do, Deshaun. So we built out a simple dad joke, and I don't know why it's not working in here now. Let's get rid of this. Huh, I don't know what's happened, but maybe because we flipped. Huh. So with my Dad Joke CLI, I did not... oh yeah, so there goes the target folder. So I have to I have to do that again. Oh, no, that's the old one. DJ CLI. There it is. So we did this. We built a native executable. It's there. And all this does is get a random dad joke. So where does Napoleon keep his armies? In his sleeveys. Love it. So it was just working on the command line. So I have a alias to this that we set up. What was the alias? So yeah, the alias was dad joke. And it was just working. So that's weird, but it is what it is. I created AMD 64 pipelines and ARM 64 pipelines for my Spring Cloud gateway. You asked about GitHub Actions. Yeah, so that's something else we could do with this. Set up some GitHub Actions to have the binaries automatically created. So if you wanted to download those, you could. You could probably take it a step further, huh? You could create the binaries and then push them somewhere, like, you know, wherever you're going to push them to like pull them down. Like if you wanted to pull them from, you wouldn't really use it for Maven, but if you wanted to use something else to quickly install that application, you could. We're not doing it for this, but that'd be cool. So that's my plan. I'm working on Spring Shell introduction, YouTube CLI. And someone asked, will this live will be saved on YouTube? Yes. So there are, if you just caught this one, this is the 4th iteration of us talking about Spring Shell and building out this thing. So yes, you can go back and view all of those and view this one. And yeah, and then I got to come up with what's next too. I've been talking a lot about, I want to do some more front end work. So we're going to do some front end work next week, I think. Oh, I have all these ideas over here of like, I really want to get into some Loom stuff. There are some new JPQL functions. So reach out to me. Let me know what you're interested in seeing. I'll probably get into some front end stuff next week. But I think with that, unless you have some questions, I will call this a day. Again, danvega.dev, at @therealdanvega on Twitter. Thanks, friends, for joining the stream. Thanks for joining all of the streams on Spring Shell. It's been a lot of fun. I've had some fun learning with you guys, and I'm excited to learn some more. Angular. I actually like myself too much. No, just kidding. I used Angular at the last position I was in. So Angular is great. We can get into that. Whatever you guys want to talk about. I do have a course out there somewhere on Angular and Spring Boot together. So that has not been updated in a while, though. All right. I think we're going to call it. Thanks, everyone, for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.